Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's Rediscover Your Stash YouTube Hop. I'm Sarah, the owner of the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group, the one that pulls it all together. And I have dogs. They have impeccable timing when it comes to when to bark. So the focused product for February in the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group is specialty cardstock. So I showed you a bunch of specialty cardstocks that I'm going to be, or specialty papers, it's not all cardstock, that I'm going to be working with today. I'm going to pair my specialty papers with these gorgeous collection from Simply Stated Design. I just did an unboxing video showing all the fun goodies I got from that shop. I love these products. I love the layout that I'm about to create with you, and I think that I will be keeping my monthly subscription or just placing a gigantic order in April because these are fabulous. I had so much fun playing with this collection. I will link everything I possibly can in the description box below, including the lineup, because we have loads and loads of amazing creators and crafters that are also working with their specialty papers. We have YouTube. We have a YouTube hop, so the videos will be linked down below. We also have an Instagram hop. We also just have loads of amazing content over in the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group. So whatever your favorite way to consume crafty content, we've got you covered today. So I went ahead and cut some white cardstock down to 10 by 10, and then I gutted that gorgeous brown and kind of gold color pattern paper. And on my white cardstock, I am adding some embossing ink from Brutus Monroe and then some gilded embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. And I'm going to hit that with a heat tool and kind of create my very own embossed specialty paper. I wanted a little bit of that gold just along the edges of my white cardstock. And so I did it myself. I'm going to do one edge at a time. And I'm just doing the very edges of the paper. I did not prep my paper with an anti-static powder tool or anything because honestly, if some of that embossing powder kind of sprinkled, it looks perfect. That's the look I'm going for. I just want this fun kind of golden edge to my white cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and grab some tear tape and adhere the gold edged cardstock onto my pattern paper. I'm putting the tear tape right on the very edge of the cardstock because it did warp a little bit, but adding that super strong tear tape to the edges is really going to help to flatten that white cardstock out. It still maybe had a little bit right on the edges, but honestly, I love the look of that, so it didn't even bother me. Idea for today's layout is to create a spin on a grid. So this is going to look a little different than a typical grid, but I really like how it turned out. It's different, unique, and kind of a cool layout. So feel free to scraplift. You have my 100% permission. I am going to take two of my specialty cardstocks. So this is a really shiny gold mirror cardstock, and then I have this fun embossed cardstock. I know that the embossed cardstock is from Tonic and that gold mirror cardstock is from Altenew. And then I also have this one pattern paper from my Simply Stated kit, and I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 squares from that cardstock, or from that pattern paper. And these squares are measuring 4 by 4. Next, we're gonna get our photos ready. So, photos I'm working with today. Yes, as an aside, if you watched my video Monday, I created this right after I created my video Monday, and my tape runner was still acting up. Ugh. Anyway, I am going to do 3 photos on this page today, and I am working with this collection. I am working on photos from my mega 25th anniversary vacation that I took in October. I have barely scratched the surface of the stories I want to tell and the things that we did while we were there. We did so much stuff. We saw so many things. I took so many amazing pictures. So yeah, we'll have lots of these like travel layouts as I print them and scrapbook them, because I'm taking my time with these. It might take me like, the next 5 years to finish this album, and I'm totally cool with that because I took lots of photos. I also did a ton of journaling while I was there. Like, I have a travel journal that has all the info in it, so I'm okay with it. The stories are there for me to tell as I want to tell them. So I'm going to be working with this line of products. Lent itself really well to these photos from a tour that we did at Monticello. This was an archaeology tour, and it was so good. So the 3 photos I have here are when we did the archaeology tour. It was conducted by the head archaeologist, like the person that kind of really runs it. And if you like that kind of thing, and I am all about that, it was so, so good. So these 3 photos on the tour, you stop at this one area that was where Elizabeth Hemings, who was an enslaved person at Monticello, where her house was. And they let us touch and hold and see the pottery, the pieces of plates and cups that they found when they did the archaeology dig at that place. So it was really cool. I'm a huge history person. I knew who Elizabeth Hemings was. I knew like her history and her story. So to be able to touch and to see the things that she would have actually touched and used was just crazy to me. And I was super into it. So I have these photos of me holding these different bags with the plates in it, the plate pieces and the cup pieces in it. And yeah, that was a big deal. In my little history world, this archaeology tour was a big deal. There were other parts of the tour that were a big deal too, and we'll talk about those when we scrapbook them, but that was a big deal. So you could kind of see there how I'm building this page. I'm going to have these 4 squares, 2 of them with the specialty cardstock, 2 of them with the pattern paper. And again, I'm using my Tear It tape just to get things onto the page really good and adhered down, especially when you're dealing with specialty papers, because specialty papers, if you ask me, are like a thing all to their own. Sometimes they'll stick, sometimes they won't, and then you're dealing with vellum or things that are translucent. If you ask me, grab yourself some Tear It tape and just go with it. It's the best thing to adhere specialty papers down with. So we have our 4 kind of grid pieces, right? And then we're going to put the 3 photographs like right there in the middle of the 4 pieces. So the specialty cardstock is sort of going to be almost a background for our page. You can see that there's a gap at the bottom. We're going to fill that gap in. That's okay. I wanted to have a dedicated spot on my page for journaling and a title. And I thought, well, the best way to do that, to kind of ground that page, is to cut 2 strips of paper. So I'm cutting a sheet of gold vellum. This is from Tonic Studios. And then I'm going to cut a strip of the Altenew gold mirror cardstock. This gold vellum, I got it from a Cherry on Top. If it's still in stock, I will link it up in the bottom. Anything that's still available, I'll link up in the description box. But this gold vellum from Tonic, it's probably my favorite thing ever. I absolutely love it. Like, it's awesome. It's so pretty. And I did map my 3 photos with it as well. So I'm going to put those 2 strips at the bottom underneath the grid or the 4 pieces. And that's going to give me a really nice grounding landing spot for me to put my journaling boxes and also my title, which is the next thing we are going to go ahead and work on. The focus of today's hop here in the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group is specialty papers. So we are going to use 1 more specialty paper. Actually, technically, we're going to use 2. So I'm going to create my own title using those alphabet dies from Spellbinders. I have this gorgeous cork paper. So I have tons and tons of this cork paper. And I love it. I love to die cut it. I think it adds so much texture. It's so awesome. I'm going to use a sheet of Altenew double-sided adhesive paper. This is another paper that I just love. I don't know if it would be counted as an adhesive or if it would be counted as a paper. I don't know. But what it's going to do is it's going to put adhesive on the back of the cork. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this cork. I'm just trimming it up because those adhesive sheets, they're a funky size. And this cork is a funky size too. So I'm just going to trim the cork up. And you can see, like, this cork is so cool. It just cuts. It just cuts with my trimmer. No big deal. And then I have adhesive backed cork, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut it and create my title. Since this cork has so much nice lift and dimension, I am only going to have to die cut my title twice. I don't need to die cut multiple pieces of white cardstock and build it up because there is plenty of thickness and texture on this cork, which is awesome when you're dealing with specialty papers than when you don't have to go ahead and die cut it a bunch of times. And my title is going to be Pieces of the Past, which I thought was perfect for these photos of the little plates and cups and things. For my journaling, I'm going to use my favorite little journaling stamp that is old and well loved, and I have no clue where it came from. I'm stamping it with icing on the cake ink, and I'm going to stamp it twice because I know that I have a lot of things to write about with these particular photos. So I'm going to give myself a nice big area to write all the things I want to write. And then I can trim down these journaling boxes. And I'm also going to ink them up using Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. While I do that, if you look to the left of the screen, you will notice that all the die cuts from my Simply Stated collection are there, and I have placed them into piles. So we have a pile that's all the tags. We have a pile that's all of the circles. We have a pile that's all the wreaths. We have a pile that's all the words. Because there were so many die cuts in this package that I went ahead and organized them into little piles so that as I start to kind of put my clusters together, I'm not sifting through. I can just grab the kind of embellishment I want. Does that make sense? So if you see those little piles over there, that's what that is. And now it's time to go ahead and we are going to pull all of these elements together, starting with our journaling, which is going to be right there. And then to the right of the journaling, I am going to go ahead and put my title down. I'm using my T-square ruler from close to my heart so that everything stays nice and straight. And these are ready to go. They have that really awesome Altenew adhesive on them. And I'm using my T-square ruler to get them straight. And look how lovely this title looks. I love how this title turned out. I really, really love how this whole layout turned out, honestly. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose 3 kind of different areas of embellishment. Some of the die cuts I'm making sure that I want to use. One of them is the mountains. So Monticello is on top of a mountain. And when we did this hike or tour, I'm going to call it a hike because we were hiking through the woods and we were hiking on this mountain. So I definitely wanted to add a couple of the little mountains here. Then I'm taking these leaves and flower die cuts. I'm kind of tucking them in and around, having a nice play because this is the first layout I created with these products. And you guys, like, there were so many. I just kept kind of like adding stuff and taking stuff away and adding stuff and taking stuff away until I was happy with how everything looked. So many choices. So here is where I settled. This is what I settled on. And I'm just going to go through and adhere all of these things down. I wanted to add a little bit more gold to the top. So we have all that gold underneath and I want to bring that gold back to the top of my page. So I just grabbed some Nuvo drops. I've been trying to use my Nuvo drops up because honestly, I don't know if this is just because mine are old and I tend to want to I gravitate towards grabbing sequins and kind of ignoring my Nuvo drops, or I gravitate towards grabbing splatter and ignoring my Nuvo drops. But my Nuvo drops are starting to kind of separate and do some funky stuff. So I'm like, might as well use it. So I grabbed some gold Nuvo drops and I'm just going to dot them around my embellishment clusters. And when I'm done with that, I let them dry and my layout was finished. So I wanted to show you something real quick. So here's the layout that I just finished. And then I still had all of the scraps from my layout on my desk and I have the die cuts, all separated out. So I made a couple of cards. I made 4 cards. These came together really easily. So I just used the same specialty papers. I utilized a lot of these die cuts that are in the shape. The same Nuvo drops. The only kind of new product I pulled in for these cards was that I did grab 1 sheet of pattern paper and then I cut the sheet down into full, cut it completely into card bases or card panels. And then I have a couple left over, which is awesome. But the rest of these papers were all from the leftovers. So this was like the scraps. This background was the scraps from my layout. And you can see how I created just nice and quickly 4 really pretty cards. So if you are someone who primarily scrapbooks, but you are, sometimes like, maybe I can dabble in card making, you don't need any new supplies. You literally just can take your scraps, and if you have just maybe a couple of simple sentiments, this sentiment was actually part of my kit, so it was ready to go. You can make a couple beautiful cards and use up your scraps.